Well, hey everybody, welcome to the Creepy Cascadia podcast. I am Sammy, one of your hosts, and I'm joined by my incredibly astounding co-host, who just so happens to also be my better half, Adam.
Yeah.
How you doing today, love?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Monday.
It's Monday, per usual.
Ugh. It's been a real dry day. Like, blah day.
Yeah. I think we both had to give each other motivation this morning, like, it's fine. I think we were both like, it's fine, everything's going to be okay, we'll get through it, like, no big deal.
Yeah. I still was just like, blah, all day.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't want to get up, didn't want to get out of bed, did not want to get up and get ready for work. I could have kept sleeping.
It's a price you pay with a 3-day weekend.
I know. That's why I wish I worked 410s, because then I'd have every day would be a 3-day weekend.
And every Monday would be terrible.
No.
Because you would have 3-day weekends every weekend.
Because you knew you'd only have 4 days to work.
Sure.
Hey, I loved 410s when I worked them.
I didn't hate 410s.
I loved them.
Of course, I was working a night shift when I had 410s also.
Oh.
So it was a little different.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
I feel like working a night shift at a 410 would be harder.
I mean, it was kind of okay. It was like, so you get done at like Friday morning.
Yeah.
So you can sleep, still hit up all your Friday evening activities. Mm-hmm. And then like on the weekend, if you got home late, you'd still just go to sleep because you'd wake up and go to work like in the afternoon. You know, like you'd wake up in the afternoon and go to work.
Was this back in your party days?
It was a little after my party days, but I mean, I was still
a single man putting yourself out there trying to get the ladies.
Yeah. Yeah, working the night shift was, I found you hung out with your coworkers more. Because, like, especially, like, during the weekdays, like, you're just...
Yeah.
You're just always, they're the only ones on your schedule.
Right.
So, like, everybody else is doing stuff, like, during the weeknights.
Yeah.
You're not.
I hate doing stuff on weeknights. I really don't like it.
Well, you might have worked out pretty well for... Because think about it, it's like, instead of... I think you would like a swing shift. I mean, other than you have me and we'd be an odd shift, we wouldn't like that.
If you were on the same shift, I would like it. I don't like to think about when I was single. I actually was just talking to somebody at work today. We were talking about, like, dating, and I'm like, I do not miss dating one little bit.
Dating was tough.
Dating sucks. It sucks so fucking bad.
Yeah.
Because I'm not good at dating. I'm not even good at relationships, but somehow I managed to land this. And thankfully you're good at relationships, so you make me better at relationships. But dating sucks.
Yeah. Dating's real tough.
Yeah. Especially if you have low self-esteem like me, it's even harder, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I was never a big flirter or like
you're not.
I'm not very forward.
I legit, I think I've told you a million times when we, like, the first few months we were dating, I'm like, okay, well, maybe he's not interested in me as, like, a romantic relationship. Maybe he just wants to be friends. Like, because you weren't making a move.
Yeah. It's a slow starter.
Yeah. It's okay. You made up for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want me to cut that? I don't want to make you feel bad.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
It's all good.
Well, we hope everybody's having a great week so far. When you come, it'll be Wednesday when you guys hear this, hopefully, or Thursday or any day. After Wednesday is when you will hear this. And we're enjoying the last few weeks of summer. I don't know about you guys, and I don't know if you know this, but I'm stoked for fall. This past weekend was kind of overcast and gray, and Adam was amazing, and he pulled out my Halloween decorations for me out of our storage closet and brought them upstairs so I could start decorating.
Yeah.
And Safeway had some fall coffee. They had their Starbucks pumpkin spice coffee So I picked some of that up, obviously. And I got my eye on some, I got a few locations that I think that there are some pumpkin spice creamers in the stores. So I just gotta get there.
Yeah.
I scoped them out.
We need to block out some room in the fridge.
We do. Because, you know, I'm also basic when it comes to my love of fall. I love pumpkin anything. But I've always loved pumpkin anything. When I was a kid, I used to not really like pumpkin pie, but it was a texture thing, not a taste thing. And then as I got older, I actually, like, you know, and when I say little, I mean when I was like a little kid, right? Like, my favorite pie has always been lemon pie. That's always going to be my favorite. But pumpkin is like a close second. With like a huge thing of Cool Whip.
Yeah.
Not whipped cream, Cool Whip.
Yeah.
We've had this discussion, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we're both Cool Whip people.
We were. And regular whipped cream just does not taste as good as all the chemicals in Cool Whip. And I know it's not good for you, but I mean, it's Cool Whip. It's like a whipped cream, essentially. Like, it ain't going to be good for you no matter what.
Yeah. I think it shocked me that it's in the frozen aisle.
It is weird that it's in the frozen aisle.
Yeah.
But I know people that, like, eat it frozen. They like it frozen. It's like a frozen treat for them. I think my cousin Ricky's like that. Well, we do. Yeah. I don't like it frozen. Okay. I like it nice and whippy and creamy.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
But yeah. And I also like the extra creamy ones because I like a dick.
Sounded like you said you like a dick.
I mean, I like your dick.
But I think you were trying to say, you like it thick.
Thick dicks. We're all talking about the same thing here. All right? I like them all. Yeah.
Reminded me of my Nutella joke earlier this morning.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Wow.
I made some banana bread, and I love Nutella, and I was like, so I didn't put chocolate chips in the banana bread because I'm having a hard time finding, like, a really good banana bread recipe. So I was like, okay, I need to start making different ones and just trying them with just the recipe itself. Don't add, like, the nuts or the chocolate chips is what I like in my banana bread.
Yeah, little chocolate chips go a long way to making a not so great recipe like seem okay, right? Amazing. Like that's what you're trying to do by not including that stuff.
Yeah, like I want to get a good basic recipe and then whatever. But I also was like, ooh, you know what would make this banana bread really good? Some Nutella on it. And it was really good. And Adam's not the biggest Nutella fan. I love Nutella. You don't dislike it. It's just not one of those things that you...
I don't go out of my way for it.
Exactly. Yeah. But you liked the banana bread with the Nutella on it.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
It was pretty tasty. So, yeah. Well, so we found out today that William Friedkin died. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because he actually directed and I think wrote The Exorcist. Or no, he didn't write he didn't write The Exorcist. He didn't write the screenplay. He directed it.
Yeah.
I want to say the movie The Exorcist based on the case of Roland Doe, which we covered in one of our first episodes.
Yeah, it was like second or third episode.
So October 3rd was when we released our first episode.
Oh.
So it's coming up. Our 1 year anniversary is coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you heard Spazzy McGee in the background there.
Yeah, Winnie's just running all over the place, jumping into everything.
When I was in the bedroom, Jax was attacking the comforter again. He jumped up and he was attacking it. He got down and he started wiggling his ass. You know how they do? He attacked it. And I was like, what are you attacking right now? There's nothing there. Who are you talking to?
Yeah. Was it going back to your Halloween thing? Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're a month past July 5th, babe.
I know.
You hadn't decorated
it's been, I don't know. It's been I feel like we've been so busy, and then when we're not, I just am like, oh, I have a sigh of relief. But it is, even when we're we don't have plans out of the house, I always feel like there's a million things to do. There's a list of a million things to do. And then I get overwhelmed and I don't do any of them.
Yeah, I've been trying to be better about just do one thing. Mm-hmm. Just do one thing.
Yeah.
And it'll make an impact, and then just do the next thing.
Yeah.
I think that's how I made so much progress down here and stuff. And
yeah.
And hey, look at selling some things online, turn into they want to come look at the other totes of stuff we have. I mean,
we gonna be rich, bitch.
I would say some of that sparked by I wanted to get rid of the Hot Wheels thing, which we gave to some friends.
Yeah, true.
So,
yeah.
you know.
We just have a lot of stuff, but we're working on downsizing.
Yeah, I
don't like clutter. And you've been actually really good about, like, not wanting to have the upstairs cluttered or anything like that.
Yeah, I like things organized as well. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, the hoarder in me, like, wants to clutter like a mother.
Yeah.
Not like my mother, but like a motherfucker.
I literally was gonna say it. I'm like, don't make the joke. Don't make the joke.
Yeah, it's genetic. It's genetic in my family.
Yes.
Hoarders both sides. It's like heart disease or male pattern baldness. Like, it's gonna happen.
Your brothers are not bald, and you're not bald either.
Correct. My dad is probably the least bald out of his siblings, his male siblings.
Didn't he only have one?
He did have one, but I'm saying like Uncle Bill's kid, Rob, was like
cousins and stuff.
Super bald by like 30. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like cousins and stuff that.
It's fair.
Yeah. And then my uncles on my other side, my mom's side and stuff.
True.
Like both grandpas, right? Like that's what I look at. Both grandpas.
Yeah.
Were like fully bald. Like really bald.
All right.
So, yeah, I think the other mind shift was like getting out of the habit of like being like, I'm going to clean and then doing a super tedious task that really didn't impact much of anything. Right?
Yeah.
You're laughing because you know exactly. It's
because
like,
I do it too. Like, I get... My problem when I clean is, and you've seen it, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to clean up the kitchen. I'm going to, like, deep clean the kitchen. I'll go to unload the dishwasher. That's not deep cleaning. But, you start there, right? You pull something out that reminds you, oh, shit, you know what I needed to do? I needed to go in the bathroom and do this really quickly. I'll go in there, and then I'll be like... Something in there will remind me of another thing that I need to do, and it's literally like half-done tasks, like a trail of half-done tasks, because I can't focus enough to do one at a time.
Yeah, and I think you found out here as an adult that's
That's ADHD.
Full-on ADHD. Undiagnosed, just...
Uh-huh. But I actually, so I started, I got tested for it, because, like, when I was a kid... My mom always got she's really smart. She just needs to focus, and it doesn't matter where we move her. She talks to everybody and distracts everybody kind of thing.
Yep.
So, like, there may have been some signs, a few signs back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And so I got tested as an adult, like, last summer, I think it was. And it has gotten better as I got, we tried out some different meds. I did not like the ones that have, like, microdosing meth because they made me feel super fucking jittery, and I did not like that feeling.
Yeah.
So we went with a different one. So yeah, it has helped, I still do it sometimes because there was like one day you came home and you're like, why is this dishwasher open? And I was like downstairs like doing laundry. And I was like, oh, I'm unloading it. I'm in the middle of unloading it. And it's like the bathroom has like the toilet seat up, like I was cleaning the toilet, and then I got distracted and came downstairs, and I was like, oh, I need to get a rag, and then came down to get a rag, and I was like, oh shit, I should throw this laundry in. And then I'm like, oh shit, you know what? I need to make sure I find this one top that I thought about the other day that I hadn't thought about in like 3 months that I want to find. It's ridiculous, but there is a reason for it. So yeah.
So any listeners out there, if this is ringing a bell.
Maybe go get tested.
Alarms blaring. That
I
this
will
is
tell you, the tests suck balls.
You said the test was like our taco, cat, goat cheese pizza.
Why do you think I suck so bad at that stupid game? It's not stupid. It's fun, but I'm terrible at it because it's literally like some of the things that you test are like, they give you like a series of words or whatever, and then they start saying a variation of those words, but you're supposed to watch a screen and then like click when you see the word, not when you hear the word.
Yeah.
Fucking terrible.
Didn't I make you watch that scene in Blade Runner 2049 where they baseline him as like the he's a android or whatever, right? And they baseline him, and like he has to repeat like, anytime they say the word cells, like they read a thing or they ask him questions, and they'll throw in like keywords like that. And anytime he hears a keyword, he's supposed to be like cells, like so like the episode gets a little overwhelming with like sound in him, like
Yeah, it's terrible. It's not fun.
Yeah,
but it has helped. Like, I notice an improvement in myself. Like, I can focus more, like, especially at, like, work, because I would literally, like, it was so hard for me because I get interrupted a lot at work just because of what I do. Like, people will come up and they're like, oh, hey, I need this or I need that. And it's like, that is the worst thing for me because I get derailed so easily. So that has helped that as well. Like, just helps me focus more.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Super fun. Adam sometimes will be like, what the fuck are you even doing right now?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was in the middle of like 5 different things.
Yeah. Yeah, which like I was trying to say that like I have the bad habit of like doing one task that is roughly inconsequential but like takes time,
Because
like
you focus, you zone in on it.
Yeah.
Whereas I like look, a butterfly.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
You're like, is this ADHD? That meme of the guy like butterfly flying up. Yeah. Oh man. Nah, it's like yeah. Yeah, but then it leads to like I was spending all my time shredding documents that like literally sat in a single box, like in all the clutter. I'm like, I'm doing stuff, and all I was doing was like dealing with like one box.
But that reminds me of like the memes of the husbands. It's like, we're having a birthday party at our house. I'm cleaning the floors, restocking the bathrooms. My husband is out painting the side of the garage that nobody ever sees that I've been asking him to do for 4 months.
Right.
Or like, he's mowing the lawn in the backyard. Like, that's a meme that I've seen a million times too, where like, the wife's getting everything in the house ready and the husband's doing this thing that's like, oh, I have to go dust out the eaves in the attic,
Right.
Nobody's going to see that.
Yeah. It's like inconsequential, but more probably just getting out of the hair.
But it's more, I think it's also one of those things that's like, okay, that it needs to get done. So it's like, that's the thing, it's also the thing that's probably been sitting the longest. So I see in your mind why you would do that,
Yeah.
So.
In my defense, that box will have to be taken care of at some point.
You're the one that said it, not me. I was like, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, despite what we've been talking about, this is more than just a mental health and house cleaning podcast.
Dating tips.
And dating tips. Don't do it. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody at work asked me the other day, they're like, how did you meet your husband? I was like, oh, we met on Tinder. And they're like, really? I was like, yeah. In our 30s, we met on Tinder. And we actually both were like not looking for a hookup. So Tinder does work, guys, if you just put out there what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. I looked out, though.
I was going to say, it's also an app for hookups if that's what you want to.
True. No judgment. We've all been there.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, not all of us. Some of us have been there. And if you haven't been there, that's okay. And if you have been there, that's okay, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ain't no thing but a chicken wing.
Yep.
Well, anyways, if you are just tuning in, I would recommend go back and listen to our last episode. I mean, if you're going to go back, feel free to download and listen to all of our episodes because this is episode 41. But this is actually a part 2 of our coverage of George Russell Jr., a.k.a. the Charmer, a serial killer that was active in the 90s here in Washington State.
Ooh.
What up?
I think I've got a question for you based on that, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so last episode we talked about is like, first victim was, they were out dancing, right? Like doing date-ish activities, right? Mm-hmm.
Not together. They weren't.
Supposedly they left together at the end of the night.
Yes, but they didn't like go on a date.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So like in my mind, it's like the olden day version of Tinder. Like I feel like nowadays women are a lot more careful, but like I feel like there has to have been at least like one Tinder serial killer by now. Or like dating app serial killer.
Not serial killers, but there have been people that have used dating apps to lure victims and kill them.
Yeah.
One was actually here in Washington State, I want to say.
Unsurprising.
Right.
For how many serial killers we have.
Yes. I think it was in Washington, but a guy like chopped up a like she was a nurse, she was a mom. I want to say, I don't remember off the top of my head. It's triggering something in my memory, but
yeah.
They met through like a dating app, and I want to say it was right before I went on a date with you, and I'm like, fuck, this is not a good idea. Like, I should not be going on a date. Like,
Yep.
Maybe not, but he like basically like chopped her up and stuff.
I seem to remember hearing something like that.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah. So there have been, I mean, dating apps, people are using that. People have used like Uber, like, you know, before Uber locked down all of their like, give you the license plate of the number of the person that's picking you up. Like, there had been people that got picked up by like people claiming to be their Uber drivers or Lyft drivers or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it happens. So, before we get into part 2, babe, do you want to do a quick recap of what's going on? Or would you like me to?
I want you to do the recap.
Okay.
All I remember is, dude, here, I'll hit what I know.
Okay.
You can fill in the blanks.
Okay.
All right. So, George Jr.
Yes, George Russell Jr.
George Russell Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Black kid, grew up in a fairly affluent neighborhood.
Yep.
Like rich kid neighborhood type of thing.
Mercer Island, outskirts of Seattle, suburban area.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, didn't really have other, like fairly white neighborhoods.
Fairly
too,
white,
right?
yep.
Yeah.
Not a very diverse population going on there at the time.
Okay. See, it's all coming back now the more we talk about it.
All coming back to me.
He got in trouble a lot.
He did.
If I remember right, it was like truancy, ditching school. It was, I specifically remember he was breaking into people's houses and like either stealing trinkets or, you know.
He was stealing stuff, like petty theft kind of thing.
And then like just watching people. Like had some peeping Tom.
Real creepy. Mm-hmm.
Creepy vibes for sure.
Yep.
But then on the flip side, it was like, people thought he was like charismatic, outgoing, like talking to him, like you'd like him.
He was very charming.
Very charming.
Mm-hmm.
And then like weirdly, like for all the times he got in trouble, he didn't really get into all that much. Like he wasn't punished very much.
No.
And he like somehow became like the White Shroot volunteer cop for the local police department or something. I don't know. There was like an internship or something.
No. So one of his punishments was he had to like work at the police station. Okay. He wasn't like an intern or anything. He as a punishment he worked there.
Yeah, so it was like community service.
Yeah, community service, exactly.
So his community service was like working at the police office, and it didn't seem to help.
No.
At all.
Nope.
And then, kind of, if I remember right, kind of like a drifter, like never really held down any. Like, became an adult, never really held down any major jobs or any...
Absolutely.
You know? Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember, did he, like, couch surf?
Yep.
Yeah, like wore out his welcome with friends and people that he, like, knew-ish, right?
Yeah.
Again, people that he could charm into, like, letting him stay with them for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we talked about his first victim, which... I specifically remember I thought she was Latino. She was not. They just met at a cantina, like a dance.
Papagayos,
yeah. Yep. Like a Mexican place that did dance nights. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, live music.
It was like a restaurant lounge kind of area.
Yeah.
Her name was Marianne Polreich.
Yeah, I remember a very not Latino name once you corrected me.
Yes. I was like, where did he get Latino? She wasn't Latino.
They met at a cantina. Everybody there is got some...
We discussed this. No.
Latin blood. Yeah.
People love chips and salsa and margaritas, okay?
Yes.
Give
That's
me
what we
one
decided.
margarita. We won't get into that again.
Yeah. And then, so she went there to dance, hang out, have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really know why he was there other than just
he also liked to go out.
Yeah, he would hit up clubs. But yeah, so he liked to go out, club, drink type of a thing too.
Yeah.
So they met. Somebody kind of remembered. I don't even know if anybody really tied him to her, or no, there wasn't there? Am I just completely mixing cases here where like he would like borrow people's cars, like something with her car. There was something about her car, either like
it was still left at the restaurant.
Still left at the restaurant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But then where was I swear there was like signs of struggle, and did they not find her body like in the trunk?
Nope. So I'm going to take it over from here.
Okay, you take it over from there. Yeah.
So Marianne's body was found in an alleyway between like a Black Angus and a Posed.
That's right.
And
Sorry for jumping on it.
No, that's okay.
As soon as you reminded me, yes. Naked, posed.
She, like,
yes.
And it was a very intentional display of her, right? She'd been sexually assaulted after she had died as well.
Yeah.
So now police are like, what the fuck? Because, like, it was a brutal, like, her, like, spine and liver had damage because of the beating that she had taken. So I do want to mention, I've seen other things saying, like, strangulation, asphyxiation were also listed sometimes in different articles as, like, causes of death. Okay. But most of the stuff I saw said that, so we're obviously going to talk about the next two victims as well, but blunt force trauma to the head were like the causes of death, right?
Okay.
But there were some things that did say that strangulation was also a cause of death, so I'm not 100% sure. The more I looked into this, like when I was looking into Carol, who was the next victim, and Randy, the third victim's cases, there's quite a bit of like differing information, which happens because, you know, this was also back in 1990. Like, you have paper articles. It's not like people were publishing their findings on the internet at that time, so it does get a little muddy, but I'm just going with like the most commonly reported stuff that I could find.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. So, police had just discovered Marianne Polreich's body, and they started investigating what happened to her the night of her gruesome murder. And it was gruesome, guys. Like, we talked about it. Trigger warning for this episode. It doesn't get any better. It just gets worse. The
typical serial killers escalating.
Yeah, it's terrible. So, police put together a rough profile of her killer, and as we mentioned, they worried that this may not have been an isolated incident, and it wouldn't be long before their theory proved to be true. On August 9th, 1990, less than 2 months after Marianne was killed, George would take the life of his second victim, a mother of two named Carol Marie Beeve. So, Carol was born October. I want to talk about Carol a little bit. Like I said, she was a mother. She had two daughters. She was born on October 10th, 1954 in Butte, Montana. She married a man named Paul Beeve in 1976, and the couple relocated to Bellevue, Washington. So at the time of her death, by 1990, Carol and Paul had two daughters, 13-year-old Kelly and 9-year-old Jamie, and they were actually divorced. It sounds like they had a pretty amicable, I wouldn't say amicable, they were co-parenting pretty well. They lived near each other, so they were, you know, there wasn't any, like, you know, it doesn't sound, not that I couldn't see a ton, but they were in communications, the kids were back and forth between their houses. It seemed at least okay. Not terrible as far as divorces go.
Okay.
Now, at the time of her death, Carol was only 35 years old, and she was working at a bar as a bartender at a local Bellevue restaurant called Cucina Cucina. I don't know if that's Italian or Mexican.
I was just about to say, I don't Is that
It could
Mexican?
be either or,
Is that
I think.
Latino
I
again?
don't know. But she was working at a restaurant, and she was a bartender. She was living in a home with her 2 daughters, and she had a boyfriend named Mike. I was able to find a last name, but he was never suspected really of anything, so
Okay.
I'm not going to give his last name. If you really are that interested, you can go look it up.
Okay.
Um, so the night before she was murdered, Carol spoke on the phone with her ex-husband Paul and her boyfriend Mike. She then left to meet a friend around midnight who was this friend was also a bartender. She went to the restaurant that he was working at. I saw some places said it was called the Keg.
Okay.
She would leave her friend around 2:15 and is believed to have headed back home. So a neighbor actually reported seeing her arrive home around 2:30 in an article that I saw. And it appeared she was alone. Like, the person didn't see
Okay.
anybody with her, following her, I think the person was, like, taking their dog out or something when they saw her.
Okay.
Because that's a pretty 2:30, like...
That's what people do.
That's why we love cats.
True
Because
story.
we don't have to do that.
True story.
So around 4:30 a.m., Kelly, which is Carol's daughter, would be woken up by someone shining a flashlight in her room. So at the time, Kelly just assumed this was her mother's boyfriend, Mike, like checking in. It seems like maybe that wasn't something out of the ordinary because it didn't startle her or like worry her as far as I can tell. So
Okay.
maybe that's just something that the family did.
Those kids aren't properly trained in stranger danger.
Well, it was the 90s, so.
Yeah.
And
Stuff started.
I know. But she didn't think it was a stranger. She just thought it was her mom's boyfriend.
Okay.
So Kelly got up around 8:30 and noticed her mom wasn't up yet, which was unusual. So Kelly got up around 8:30 and noticed that her mom wasn't up yet, which was unusual. Kelly went around to the sliding door outside of her mom's room since her bedroom door was locked from the inside. So I'm assuming it's like there was like a patio area or something, like a sliding door that led outside is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
So through the slider, Kelly saw her mom's body and panicked. She then called her father to come over and help. Paul would enter Carol's bedroom. So Paul was the ex-husband. He would enter Carol's bedroom through the outside slider, where he saw a pretty gruesome scene. Now, trigger warning, this one's also super rough. So like Marianne, Carol had been posed. She was completely nude except for a pair of red high heels that had been put on. Carol was left on her back. Her ankles were together, but her knees and legs were spread. A rifle had been placed between her legs and was actually penetrating her.
Yeah.
Yeah. She also had a plastic bag wrapped around her head along with a pillow over her face. The horror of her body being posed paled in comparison to the violence she had endured. Her cause of death was either blunt force trauma to the head or, again, strangulation.
Yeah.
She also had broken ribs, and her liver had been lacerated by either a fist or a knee. So, again, just like super extreme, beyond over-the-top violence inflicted on these women.
Yeah.
While processing the scene, police noted that some of Carol's jewelry was missing. Now, this is going to be important later.
Okay.
She had her mother's wedding ring set along with her set from her marriage to Paul, neither of which have been located since her murder. She also kept her tips and change in those, those Crown Royal bags that they come in?
Yep.
She had a couple of, I think some things said like 6 or 7, half a dozen, of those bags that she would keep, like, tips, change, yada, 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 because as a bartender, you get tips.
Yep.
And according to her ex-husband, when he went in the room, they weren't there, and he noticed that they were missing.
Okay.
So police put pictures of the missing rings in local papers to try and track down if someone may have tried to pawn them or sell them.
Yeah.
Police were able to locate a witness who claims that George Russell attempted to sell him a set that closely resembled the missing rings. Now, this witness would go on to testify against George after he was arrested and put on trial. Okay. So this person, the witness that they found, I believe, came after George was arrested.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. This wasn't the catalyst for his arrest?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
Sadly, because he went on to kill again, so.
Yeah.
It became apparent pretty quickly that Marianne and Carol's deaths were most likely connected. The brutality, along with the posing and the sexual assault, and just the sexual nature of these two women fit a pattern. There were some things that said that Carol wasn't actually sexually assaulted, but I'm not 100% sure because, again, some places said yes, some places said no.
Okay.
We do know for sure that Marianne was. Carol may have been.
Okay.
She was obviously assaulted, you know, the killer
The
had
rifle.
put the rifle inside
Yeah.
of her, so that's assault in my mind.
Yeah.
And the killer was also getting more brazen. He entered Carol's home where her two children were also home and asleep while she was there. And he committed the crimes with these people just a few doors away from
Yeah.
their mom being brutally murdered.
Yeah.
The location of Carol's home was close to the site where Marianne's body was found, around 2 miles away. So, it's a close proximity.
Yep.
So the investigators were on high alert, worried about when and where their killer would strike again, because they were pretty sure now that they were dealing with somebody that was on a rampage.
Yeah.
But sadly, they wouldn't have to wait too long because it would be August 31st, 1990, that the body of Andrea Randy Levine would be found in her apartment by her landlords. So Andrea was her name. She went by Randy.
Okay.
I did see that her body was discovered on August 2nd or 3rd as well. But most of the sources that I saw said that she was discovered on August 31st. So, which would have been like a Friday. I think the 30th they said was a Thursday. And she was discovered like the following Monday. Not 100% sure, a little hazy.
Okay.
But let's talk about Andrea Randy. Okay, so Andrea Sue Levine, who went by Randy, was born in West Point, New York in 1966. I could not find her date of birth. I couldn't even find a month. All I found was 1966. I looked up her like gravestone. All it said was 1966. So
Okay.
don't have a date of birth for her. So she worked as a communications assistant, and she was only 24 years old when George Russell savagely beat and murdered her.
Yeah, so she was only 24, so this was like 90 or 91, yeah.
Yeah, so this was 1990, August 31st, 1990. She was only 24 years old. Randy was living in Kirkland, Washington, and she was renting a basement apartment from the Hayes family, which was like a husband and wife. I didn't see if there was also kids, but for sure, husband and wife. I think it was the wife of the landlord of the couple that owned the home that found Randy.
Okay.
She, like both Marianne and Carol, was nude and also posed for maximum shock value. She was found on her back with her legs spread and holding a copy of the book More Joy of Sex. Her body had also been severely beaten, and she had over 200 cuts from a kitchen knife, they believe, which was taken from her kitchen. She also had... she'd also been beaten with either a metal bat or a rod, and she'd had a sex toy shoved down her throat.
Jeez.
Yeah, one last act of humiliation.
Yeah.
Randy also had a ring that was missing, which police believed to have been taken by their killer. So police had actually been called to the home in the early morning hours of August 30th or 31st due to the landlords hearing a disturbance outside in the yard. The guy went out and he saw a dark figure fleeing the area. Police checked the premises, but they failed to check in on Randy. So I think they thought somebody was maybe trying to break in, but they didn't check in on Randy.
Okay.
So they had an idea of when the attack occurred, or at least when it ended, because when the guy was leaving.
Okay. So the disturbance they called it is when it happened?
They think so, yeah.
Okay. It wasn't like him prepping and
No.
snooping, scoping out.
I think they realized that it was like, that day.
Okay.
So police would finally catch the break they needed when George was picked up after a woman called the police. She was at home and she was hearing strange noises outside of her home. So police found police showed up and they found that the screen door had been taken off of the woman's home in what they believed to have been an attempt to break in.
Yeah.
So as police arrived on the scene, they actually saw a man driving away and they ran the plates. And they found that the car belonged to George Russell and he had an active warrant out for impersonating a police officer. So he was brought in. So they're suspicious, right? Like,
yeah.
You know, obviously this person had broken into 2 homes. So people were on high alert, and that's why the woman called the police. Like she said, after everything that had gone on, she was nervous, which good for her. Like, way to be a final girl and stay alive.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the similarities between the 3 victims now, okay?
Okay.
All 3 victims were young women, and they were living in close proximity to one another. I think the Randy's house was like less than 5 miles from the other crime scenes.
Okay.
They were similar in age, and they all enjoyed going out or were associated with, like, you know, Carol was a bartender. Marianne and Randy liked to go out. They were young.
Yeah.
You know, did the whole thing. And they all lived in pretty upscale, affluent areas. You know, Bellevue, Kirkland.
Okay.
All pretty wealthier neighborhoods, I would say.
Yeah. These aren't slums. It wasn't
No, it wasn't like... Well, I'm not going to call it any terrible places, but they exist everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
But, so unlike Marianne, Carol and Randy were attacked and murdered in their homes, but Marianne had been attacked while she was out.
Yeah.
Police were now on high alert. 3 young women had been brutally murdered in less than 3 months, and police were pretty sure that they had all been killed by the same perpetrator.
Yeah.
They were processing any and all evidence that they were able to pull from the crime scenes, which they didn't have a ton. Police collected a vaginal swab semen sample from Mary Ann, but I didn't see that they did any tests on Carol or Randy, or were able to find any evidence like that on Carol or Randy.
Okay.
They did collect some hair samples from Carol's bedding and her underwear, and then they also found a single hair at Randy's crime scene, but none of it was like directly tied to George. It was just that it was hair from African descent.
Okay. They couldn't even tie it to the same, like, say these hairs are from the same person?
No, because we're 1990, so DNA testing that, like, can tie hair back to somebody.
Yeah.
I don't think it was where it's at now. I mean, I know it's not where it's at, or it wasn't at, I know it's not, it wasn't where it is now, for sure.
Okay.
There were also no fingerprints found at Randy's scene, so they believe that the killer had likely wiped everything down and worn gloves.
Yeah.
In the last attack.
Yeah.
They did find like a partial fingerprint, I want to say, or a fingerprint at Carol's scene, but it was on a Coke can and it was her boyfriend. So it's like, okay,
yeah,
that doesn't the boyfriend was over there having a pop, like it. Yeah.
Normal, not.
Yeah, not anything up, to be super whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so George had been brought in. They were questioning him.
Okay.
But he refused to provide a DNA or hair sample, and because law enforcement didn't really have any solid evidence to tie him to the crimes, they had to let him go.
They couldn't get a warrant for it?
No, because they didn't have enough evidence to, He was a thief, yes, they knew that, but they didn't know for sure that he was a murderer.
Okay.
But they did have a lead now, so they could start pulling at that thread.
Yeah.
So police started back at the beginning. They went back to the night of Marianne's death, and they actually found that George had borrowed a truck from a buddy of his that night. So when George had brought the truck back to his friend the following morning, the vehicle reeked. Russell told his buddy that the girl he had been taking home had puked in the truck, but his friend said the smell was more closely resembling blood than vomit. The truck was so bad, in fact, that his friend had to get it cleaned to get rid of the smell.
Yeah, like full deep clean, like detailed.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. Like, he got it detailed because it was nasty. And
Not just taking it through the car wash.
No. The smell of blood. One of the articles I read, he said it quoted him as saying it smelled more like a somebody had gutted a deer in there than puke. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that wasn't an article I read. That's linked in our show notes, but that was a quote that I saw.
I feel like you should stop talking about it. You look like you're gonna like gag thinking about it.
Puke and blood. Ugh. There's a reason we don't have children.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think like a lot of blood has a different smell. I feel like puke is usually like acidic because it's all your stomach acid type stuff.
Yeah.
Usually like food, digested food.
Yeah.
I do feel they are different.
I do, for sure. Blood has a very distinct smell in my mind. It's very, like, metallic-y smelling. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean...
I've been around dead deer before, and, like, where people were gutting a deer, and not the life for me. Yeah. No.
I would say, don't put me in a lineup. Don't give me a smell test of the two.
Fuck no!
I don't want that.
No way.
But I'm just saying, like, from memory...
Uh-huh.
I think they're different.
Yeah.
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 I was thinking it would be more poop. Like if she died, they say people poop themselves when they die.
People poop themselves when they're alive.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, people say, like, when you die, you poop yourself, but...
Or when you give birth. It's like life and death.
Yeah.
Can't avoid shit. Sorry.
I feel like you're, like, distracted from my...
I'm sorry.
Like, what I'm trying to say, which is, like... I was thinking you were
that could
say
also be part of the biological
really,
evidence that they found in there. Yeah. So police asked to test the truck. The friends like, bet you can test it.
Yeah.
And they wanted to see if there was any biological evidence that may have remained. So, it had been a few months since Marianne had been killed. Yeah. He'd had the truck cleaned, but police lucked out and they found spots that ended up testing positive for blood. Now remember, we're in 1990, so the DNA technology wasn't as advanced as it is today. But police were able to match the genetic material found in the blood sample to Marianne, but that match wasn't like 100% match. According to a Seattle Times article, the sample also matched 7% of the population. So if you remember, police also had a semen sample that they had taken from Marianne, which they were able to tie to George, but again, that sample also matched 8% of the population, according to the same Seattle Times article. So, aside from the biological evidence, police also tested the carpets in the truck. Fibers from the carpet were matched to fibers that had been found around Marianne's body.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep. Now, I had a harder time finding the connections between Randy and Carol's deaths and how they were tied to George. But from what I can tell, hair that was found but not directly tied to George, along with the missing rings from Carol and Randy's homes, were tied to him.
Yeah.
But I didn't find the exact, gotcha evidence that totally pinpointed him. So obviously the methods were similar, but they're, the posing of the bodies, the brutality of the crimes.
Yeah.
Some of the articles I found said that Carol wasn't sexually assaulted. Some say that Randy wasn't sexually assaulted. Some said both of them, or neither of them, had been sexually assaulted. Again, we know that Marianne was.
Yeah.
But the FBI actually came in to help profile the killer in these cases. And John Douglas, who, if you recognize that name, he actually was the famous profiler from Mindhunter.
Okay.
He talks a bit about this case in the Mindhunter book. He wasn't the one that worked on the profiling, but it was somebody on his team, it sounds like, that helped with it. Okay. And he actually came out to testify in the trial, I believe.
Okay.
But their findings pointed to all three crimes had been committed by the same killer.
Okay.
So, you are noisy, sir.
I don't know, it's him or my guts, yeah.
So George was arrested on September 12th, 1990, and he was charged with Marianne, Carol, and Randy's murders.
Okay.
Marianne's was a first-degree charge. I also think there was a rape charge in there.
Yeah.
And then Carol and Randy's were aggravated first-degree charges. So they went to trial, and it was in October of 1991. After over 20 hours of deliberation, George was found guilty on all 3 charges, and in November of 1990, he was sentenced to 2 life sentences with an additional 28 years.
Okay.
This is a super brief overview of the trial, but the defense argued that the DNA evidence wasn't strong enough, ex-boyfriends, ex-husbands could have been to blame, etc. There was, I think it was the encyclopedia.com article. They had talked about, they deliberated, the jury deliberated for quite a while, like 20, I think it was like 22 hours in total, just shy of 22 hours.
That's like 3 days, right? Like I think they only go like 8 hours-ish. I mean, like,
yeah.
They don't do like 12-hour days like we were talking.
So one of the jurors had said that the question of his guilt or not wasn't really the issue. It was just all the weird evidence.
Yeah.
So I had mentioned the rings.
Yes.
There were people. So
I feel like you're real skittish about how to approach this.
I don't even. So again, the information varies. It sounds like somebody had said that George had tried to pawn the rings, or he had given the ring, or one set of the rings, there were multiple pieces of jewelry that had been taken, from both Randy and Carol's crime scenes. One thing said that one of the rings had been given to a girl or a woman that George knew, that was then found at a pawn shop. But I also saw that they weren't able to find some of the jewelry. So
yeah,
that feels a little circumstantial to me. Like, yeah, we knew he was a thief. Like, I don't know. It's a little.
Are you trying to say you didn't do it?
No, I'm not saying that he didn't do it. I'm saying that, like, his conviction seemed like, I have to believe there's more evidence that we're not aware of, or that I was not able to find. And what I was able to uncover, I didn't see anything that was super, like, hard evidence to point to him.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm not saying that he didn't do it. That's not my point at all. I'm saying that, like, I have to believe that there's more evidence, or there's more circumstances that I'm just not aware of that I wasn't able to find.
Okay.
Because he was convicted, and I'd have to, not to say that there aren't people in jail that have not done it, but I just feel like I want to know what the other evidence was.
Yeah.
There is evidence that he may have known all of these women too. Like, there were, because everybody, you were all kind of going out in the same area. You run into people.
Yeah.
Carol was a bartender. There's a very good chance that he frequented the place where she worked.
Yeah.
He knew her in that respect. He'd seen Marianne out and about. Same with Randy. Like, it sounds like they think that they were all at least somewhat acquainted with each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the truly tragic story of the Charmer serial killer. What are your thoughts?
I mean, the first one that comes to mind is the one towards the end. So, yeah, you're saying they didn't get him for murder for Carol and Randy's?
No, they did. First degree.
I thought you said it was like aggravated.
Aggravated first degree murder.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. I thought the way you said it made it sound like it was like aggravated assault. Like
no, first degree murder.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So yeah, so it's good that I cleared that up.
Yes.
I was, for whatever reason, I was feeling like I felt like it didn't say murder. Yeah. So
yeah,
I was thinking it was like.
Sorry, aggravated first degree murder.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was 3 murder charges.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So that's fine. Mm-hmm. I guess where I was going with that was like burden of proof for lesser charges would have been like you wouldn't need as much evidence. Mm-hmm. But I mean, yeah, if they're going over evidence for 20 hours, yeah, there's a lot of evidence that I don't think made it to the papers, made it to into the news articles, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. I would have to think they also have kept that evidence. So if he's not like demanding like evidence be
Appeals.
retested,
Yeah.
it does lean a little bit more towards
He knows it was him.
The evidence, the technology has only improved. So if you did do something, like, you're not doing yourself any favors by demanding it to be retested.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's still incarcerated in Washington State.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I mean, you demand it gets retested and proven it's not you. I mean,
yeah,
you getting a payday. You getting released from jail.
I mean, some of those people though, they don't get a good payday. Like,
yeah,
some places and some people that have been like in jail for years and years and years for a crime that they did not commit.
Yeah,
they still get fucked over.
Yeah,
yeah. Like the Innocence
That's
Project.
True too. Yeah.
Yeah, they work to help people that are like wrongly convicted. But it does happen. I mean, it's not unheard of. Sadly, there's too many people in jail that they're finding haven't done.
Yeah.
The crime that they're convicted of, but.
Yeah. It's interesting that murder stopped after they arrested him and took him off the streets.
Yeah. Again, I'm not saying that I think he didn't do it. I'm really interested in what the evidence is that we don't know about.
Yeah.
Because to me, like, again, these are like old articles. You don't have as much information as you would like a case that happened like even 10 years ago, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean nowadays
it seems a little flimsy, like and it was hard to find the connection. So I have to believe, like I said, that there's more that I wasn't able to find.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah. This is where, like, like, reading all the, like, motions and Trump indictments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there needs to be, like, a website for, like, these court cases.
Sometimes you can find them if they're public cases. You can find. Now, I did find an article, or it was, like, it somewhat looked like a court transcript.
Yeah.
There's a reason I'm not a lawyer, because a lot of it didn't make sense to me.
Okay.
They were talking about the validity of the DNA testing that they used.
Yeah.
They were comparing it. There's like two different types at the time. One of them was like PCR. The other one is a different type of test. And they were saying that, like, they were trying to dispute the validity of the DNA evidence that had been introduced, but it ultimately was allowed to be used in the trial.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the escalation of the home break-ins versus the murder out in public. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it's interesting because we know that he was already breaking into homes as like an adult or an adolescent, right?
Right.
So, like, it's not that far of a leap to think that he would go that far.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe the first kill was like, what do I want to say? Not planned.
Spur of the moment.
Spur of the moment. That's the right phrase. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, so the first murder seemed like, real spur of the moment.
Now, she wasn't killed in public. She was dumped in public.
Okay. Yeah. But even then, I feel
I think she was in that truck. She got murdered in that truck.
Yeah, she got murdered in the truck and then dumped in public. But but again, murder in a truck, unless you've pulled off to, like, some secluded spot,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the one with the girls, like, the daughter's still in the apartment or the house or whatever. Like, that one's, I would have thought that would have been the last one. Because that would be like an escalation. Like, somebody's just singled of someone who's like,
well, so
family is there.
Randy also, like, she was living in a basement apartment, so her landlords lived above her.
Oh, okay.
And it was like, essentially, she was living in the same house. Like, she was living in an ensuite apartment, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like,
real ballsy.
Yeah. It's like, it's tough that three gals died,
Yeah.
Like, 3 too many, really, but.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it sounds like they got the right guy, and sounds like, even for all, like, not being able to see the hard evidence and stuff, and.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a little tough, right?
Yeah. It's, he pled not guilty, and obviously they found him guilty.
Yeah. Has he maintained his innocence this whole time?
I haven't really really seen a whole lot of anything about him after the fact.
Yeah.
I tried to see if he had like filed appeals. He may have, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah.
Generally, I think most people that get convicted end up filing appeals, so it's not a long stretch by any imagination. But
yeah,
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I haven't seen a ton of stuff like about, you know, him after the fact. I did see that like I think it was after he had been convicted, but before he got like sentenced, or, you know, in the process of everything. He had talked to like a reporter on the phone, like he had called a reporter had called him to talk to him. And I think I had mentioned last episode that there were rumors, or there was a saying, like there was people believed that he was obsessed, or he was like idolized Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
He actually mentioned it in a talk or a call with a reporter, saying that he had books on Ted Bundy, but that was as far as it went. Like, he wasn't obsessed with him or idolized him. Which I'm also like, okay, well, I have books about a lot of serial killers too, so I don't idolize them.
Yeah, and you're not out here murdering people either, you know.
Not that you know of.
Yeah.
Murdering that dick.
Nah.
No.
Well, that brings up the fact that, yeah, he was also obsessed with sex.
Yes.
From the first episode, too.
That's what some of his friends and people had reported, that he had like an unhealthy obsession with sex.
Yeah. Makes it really weird why the last two weren't
if they weren't,
assaulted.
Yeah, it's, I mean,
or why it
you know, like
so...
he left the more joy of sex.
Yeah.
Like, that's obviously very symbolic.
Yeah. Posed them in sexy positions.
Yeah, like
sex positions, not sexy positions, but yeah.
Very graphic
like
positions to
legs
like
open.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, like Randy had like a dildo essentially shoved down her throat.
Yeah.
Which is just awful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to believe that there's more that I just wasn't able to find, or they did not publicize, which that's okay, because we don't really need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, any final thoughts before we wrap her up? For this cat, he's probably awake now. He's not.
Yeah, when he
anymore.
came over, so he's licking himself now. I can see movement.
Yeah, I feel it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to. It's interesting that the profile guy, I guess that was like another thing, was like, profile guy came in, like, did he nail the profile, or like was he like, you're looking for, you know what I mean, like from Mindhunter, like, you're looking for a male about this age, like, da-da-da-da-da, you know, I mean, I'm sure they weren't like, he's got to be black, I mean, other than they'd had the hairs that they said were African-American, right?
Yeah, so, I looked at I looked at the book that discussed the case, but I don't think I actually saw a copy of like what their profile was.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the connection was there or not. I mean, obviously they think that it was committed by one person, but the prosecution also defense also argued that, like, you know, it was different. Like, the first murder was different because the sexual assault wasn't present in the second one. If what, you know.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not 100% sure, and I really apologize, guys, because it was really hard to find any, like, there was a lot of differing information as far as what had happened or hadn't happened. And I think that also can be contributed to, like, you know, people like to sensationalize things that happen, especially when, like, crimes like this. Reporters sometimes take creative license with their stories, unfortunately. So it's hard to be for sure that, like, this was the facts or this was the facts.
Yeah, and you're trying to just we want to put out the information, like the known,
the generally accepted, or the generally, like, we think this is what happened.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, as always, thank you guys for listening. And don't forget to subscribe and download our show, as well as leaving us a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you're listening on. We're on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Apple Music, or not Apple Music, Prime, all the things. All of these things help us become more visible to more people, and it helps us grow our show. Also, please help us out by sharing us with your friends, family, social media, all the things. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Also, check out our website, which is just creepycascadiapod.com, or you can send us an email to admin@creepycascadiapod.com. If you have a story that you'd like to share with us, whether it be true crime, paranormal, if you've seen Bigfoot, let me know where he hangs out because I want to see him. Aliens, all the things. We want to share your stories, so feel free to shoot us an email to the admin@creepycascadiapod.com. Otherwise, we will see you guys back next week. We hope everybody has a good one, and we will see you later. Bye.
Bye.